You know what? I could be serious or I could be immature with this thumbnail. It's called My Old Ass, so I got to. My old ass. My old ass. Chase Lee Hockey here with the Blue Futon reviewing My Old Ass. So what's about? Pretty simple premise. You have a girl who's 18 years old and she's about to move to Toronto. However, she has like 3 more weeks in her hometown, which I don't remember what her hometown is called. Anyway, it has a nice, beautiful lake on it. Her family owns a cranberry farm. But she takes mushrooms one night, and what do you know? Who appears? Herself at 39 years old, and her only real advice is stay away from Chad. And you kind of know what's going to happen with this Chad character once you meet him, just because how the story is going to fold. But this story is more about time, what can you do in life, what should you hold on to, and what is going to occur. So did I like this film? I thought it was a cute movie with some hysterical moments sprinkled in throughout. I was more impressed with the first act and the third act. I do think the second act did, kind of fault a little bit for what it was trying to do and what it was going for because, like I said, maybe I've seen too many films where you kind of know the progression of where the story's going to go, which I had no issues with that, but I just think the more issues I had with it was some of the connecting with the family and some of the things that weren't really discussed or how. I think it was the how factor, which I was like, we're not going to really explain that. So anyway, when we talk about the positives, I do think the story is really well told and acted. There's a good subplot in this movie about someone who thinks they're gay and maybe they're not gay. And that's very interesting because when I went on a date with someone, she was married to a girl, a female cop, for about like 11 years and she thought she was gay. But then she realized maybe I'm not and she wasn't. But, I was too much of a bitch to continue on because I was really nervous to be the first dude, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to disappoint you, and I can't do it. I'm painfully average. So, yes, bitch boy right here, this old ass. So, that was an interesting plot point and plot turn in this movie. I mean, you kind of tell in the story, but I found that kind of relatable because it happened to me, and I'm like, oh, shit. Maybe this whole... And this movie does talk about labels, and some of the dialogue was cringe, where you're just like, oh, we're talking about this, about labels and blah, blah, blah. Which, at a point, it's like, sure. But then, when she said she was pan, I had no idea what that meant. So I had to Google it, and I still don't know what it means. Pansexual means you love everyone. Is that, like, sexual love? Or is that, like, just, the religious, I love the whole world? So... this is where I get confused when it comes to sexuality sometimes. Like, I also hate the word cis, where it's like, are you just straight? Can you just say, you're a male? Do you have to say cis? It's like those little labels also just really annoy me. I don't understand what this movie was trying to do. But this is little stuff like that in the real world, and you're just like, I'm a dude. End. Scene, end. So, there's that. Where the story is filmed, gorgeous looking. It's absolutely gorgeous where this lake is and what they're doing with the environment. Absolutely fantastic. The score, I don't remember a score being in this movie, honestly, per se, because this is more about the emotional toll it takes on, families, what teenagers do, and the whole perception of life isn't going to end, but it is, and the whole motherhood, fatherhood aspect of like watching your kids grow up and realizing, time is like this, it's going like this, and the whole motherhood is probably one of the best things you can do. So there is that, being, single and not having children. It's kind of depressing because I've always wanted children and, there's still time, but you just have your life and you thought it was going to go a specific way and it's really not going the way you thought it was going to go. Like, I can't complain with what I've experienced throughout life, but then just things that have occurred in life where it's kind of put me in a terrifying spot of what life could bring. And of course, the whole movie is about don't be terrified, live your life, because you don't know if you're going to wake up. because there could be a time maybe you're going to fall asleep and you're not going to wake up because there's a blood clot in your brain. You don't know, and you're going to fall asleep and you're not going to wake up. So shit like that terrifies me. And this movie does go into that realm of that. Very, very true. So I say the only negatives I really have this movie, like I said, second act dips a little bit, and I guess the how factor. Something happens at the very end where he's like, yeah, I blah. I'm not going to spoil it, but blah, how, blah. And you're just like, how? Because then also, there's also subtle, trinkets in this movie. I'm not saying that word right, but subtle jabs, you want to put it that way, where she is talking to Aubrey Plaza on the phone, and she's like, oh, we can't have fish anymore. Oh, we can't have more than 3 kids. Bunker. So you're thinking, is the apocalypse? Or what's happening? Like, is this a quasi Fallout, side story? Because I'm just confused what is actually occurring in the future. Because if there is no fish, if there is Fallout shelters, and there is no lake, and you can't have more than 3 kids, is this quasi China? Is it the one child policy? So there's just things like that where it had it in the story, but I was like, you're not going to explain it. You're just going to have those subtle jabs in the story. And I kind of was like, I didn't like that. I didn't like that whatsoever. So overall, My Old Ass, it's a pretty solid film. Like, if you saw my out of the theater reaction, I have a heartstring for revenge films, as well as movies that deal with time and not knowing how much you have left, because my biggest fear is death, and this kind of talks about it. But like I said, it's acted well, it's directed well, it's written well. A couple, eye-rolling written moments where you're like, okay, really, we're going to say that or do that. And it is what it is, but I think overall, it is a solid, thoughtful film. So My Old Ass will receive a 4 out of 5 Futons, which equals that 80%. So let's see the critics and user scores gave that one. So just FYI, this was a Sundance Film Festival movie, and this was one I could not watch online. So anyway, 93% with 30 of them, and we have no critic consensus. So like I said, there will probably be a critic consensus pretty soon. Actually, this comes out this 27th of September. So this comes out in 3 more weeks. Okay, I did not know that. Anyway, 9380. Chase Lock here with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One more things, Buftopia. You Buftonians, thank you much for a great down. Come out to stay tomorrow, week, from month, and a year from every single freaking one of you. And now I'm wondering if to review this, or to have a thumbnail, or to have the thing, do I have to censor it? Because apparently, according to Rotten Tomato, or not Rotten Tomato, I'm an idiot, YouTube, that ass might be demonetized. We'll find out.